So, alright students, let us begin today's session. And today's session will be based on some concepts and we'll see some more positions of the endgame and analyze them thoroughly. So, as you can see the position, in this position, sometimes black king can escape from the check by fleeing to another flight square. By fleeing to another flight square. So basically flight square is a kind of square which is not attacked by any of the pieces or the piece where the king can escape at the time of check. So as you can see in this position, black king can flee from a check by the white knight. But in a slightly different position, like you can see in this, black king is in check and has no flight squares and no other defense, so he is kind of mated. We call this a smothered mate because the black king hemmed by its own piece and has no place to move when the check is given by the knight. Like you can see that it is protected by its own piece, like it looks protected, but these pieces kind of acts as an obstacle and ultimately resulted in its own gaming mate. Okay, so like sometimes it is a double-edged sword, like it is not always protecting you, but yeah, it kind of looks like that they are protecting you. Now let's see another position. In another position you can see that white queen has checked, but the black king can flee to a square as indicated. But the thing here to note is that in a slightly different position, if you'll notice, if the queen is just a square ahead, then it can cover the fleeing square. Like here the white queen not only checks but also cover the enemy's king flight square. Black has no place to flee safely, so he is again mated. Now I'll give you a situation and you have to analyze whether the king can move or gets mated or it has a flight square. So you can pause the screen and think for a second. So in this position, black can do nothing. Like all the squares of black are kind of attacked by these bishops. So in this position, black is mated. Here's an important learning in this. You can see that whenever two bishop teams up, it kinds of create an destructive power. Like it's a deadly combination which you need to remember in the future games. Like it kind of become a barricade for the king. Like now king cannot cross this barricade till the other piece obstruct in between. But yeah, we'll see that later on. So let's look at this position, and in this position the white rook is giving a check to the black king. So here the black king has two options. Either it should block the check by obstructing some piece, or it should flee, and the possible which seems feasible is fleeing, and the square which it will be fleeing to is known as the fleeing square, flight square actually. So in this case g7 is the flight square. Also we have to note one thing here, like if this square was attacked by some pieces when the black king was mated, like if white has played wittingly, he can put something which can actually attack the square. Like in this position it can be seen that the white rook is checking the black king, and also the bishop is blocking its flight square. So in this case the king cannot flee and the game is mated for black, and white actually won this game. So now it's a kind of exercise for you. Like you have to tell whether the black king can capture the queen, or it can flee, or it can do neither. So you can pause the screen and think for a second. So in this position you can see that black can not capture the queen, like it is being protected by the knight, and in this position it cannot run to these squares. So the only feasible square which king can move on is d8. So d8 is a kind of flight square which will protect from the queen in this move. Now let us see at another position. So in this position you have to tell whether the black king can capture the rook, either flee it, or it can do nothing. So yeah, it can be seen that the king cannot capture the rook, as the rook is two spaces away from the king. Like there is a square in between the king and rook. Also it can be seen that This square is blocked by the rook. This is also blocked by the rook. And these two squares are, I mean, kind of blocked by the knight. I mean, sorry, it's pawn. So like pawn is a kind of, I mean, annoying piece for the black king. Like it's a game mated for the black. So like these, I mean, low rated, I mean, pawn also values a lot. So you have to, I mean, utilize each piece, I mean, very carefully. Now let us look at another position. So in this position, you have to tell whether the, I mean, black can capture the rook, either escape it or it can do nothing. So yeah, guys, you might have figured it out. Like in this position, black king can simply capture the rook and avoid its check. I mean, like it's kind of foolish now. Like you are placing your rook here without giving it a backup. So like this is a kind of mistake which beginners make, and you have to make sure that you doesn't make this kind of mistake. Like with any other pieces, maybe it's a knight, bishop, or I mean, like it can be anything. So let's move to the another position, and yeah, in this position, yeah, like this is a kind of interesting position. You may look at this for once. So yeah, in this position, you can see that black is in a check position by the I mean pawn, and king cannot capture this pawn. Like this pawn is protected by another pawn, so the king has only option to flee. So like it can flee to this square or this square, and you have to note that these both squares are attacked by white. Like in this position it is attacked by the queen, and in this position it is attacked by the I mean behind pawn, or we can say that b6 pawn. So yeah, like in this position black is mated and it can do nothing. Now here's a puzzle for you. Like it's a very famous game which was I mean taken from where like it's taken from blood tournament as far as I remember, which held in Yugoslavia in 1938. And I mean like it was played by the key like there's a player called Kiris. I mean it's a I mean world level champion player at that time. And the thing happened is the mate actually happened. Like in this position, it doesn't seems like I mean the mate can took place, but yeah, the mate happened, and you have to find that. It's a I mean kind of homework for you. You can find and I mean like mention the answer in comments. I'll tell you the answer in the next video. Okay, so yeah, so let's keep it short, and that's enough for today. In the next video, we'll cover some more basic concepts and analyze some more positions. And also, if there's any suggestion or you want any game to be analyzed, you can mention it in below in the chats, or sorry, mention it below in the comments. Yeah. So till then, see ya.